Just want to interject a quick announcement that the second class on Thursday nights, which is called The Heart of Kabbalah, which explores the Sefer B'Yam Darkecha on Oitzer Chaim. We are continuing with this chabura, and it's a really fantastic chabura, very, very special. And we will keep the Zoom on, but we are not going to be recording these chaburas, just because the nature of the chabura and the material doesn't really lend itself to being recorded and put out. So if anyone wants to join, we'll keep the Zoom on for that chabura, but unfortunately it won't be recorded. Thank you everybody for coming. I'll leave it to Rabbi Chaskell.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi Avram. Welcome back, gentlemen. So, a few quick announcements, please. Number one, I've mentioned in the past that we do have a WhatsApp group, and if you want to know when we are giving a shiur, when we're not giving a shiur, we have events every now and then in Hashem. Here in Breslev, Thornhill, there will be a Lag BaOmer event in Hashem, and we have your sites, etc., etc. So anyone who wants to be part of this, to know when things are happening and when things are not happening, you can very easily become part of our Pnimius Toronto WhatsApp group. My number is 647-272-9873, and send me a message and I will add you. Okay, a few very quick announcements. I wanted to bring to everyone's attention, if you guys can, whoever's on Zoom, if you can please mute your mics, that would help. Oh, we are muting them? Okay. We have muted you, whether you like it or not. So, I wanted to first of all show you this book. This book came out many, many years ago. It's called Flames of Faith. The author is Rabbi Zev Reichman, and he is a Talmud of the famous tzaddik Rav Moshe Wolfson. Rav Moshe Wolfson is, of course, the Rav of the shul in Borough Park. Amunas Yisrael, and he's also the mashgiach. I believe he's still the mashgiach in Torah Vodaas, or he used to be, and so he has an amazing understanding of Pnimius, and based on his shiurim, this Talmud, Rabbi Zev Reichman, wrote an amazing book on the most important topics in Chassidus, which is of course also Kabbalah, Kisvei Arizal, and I highly recommend, if somebody wants, this is an English book of course, and if somebody wants to have, it's not difficult reading, if somebody wants to have a very quick handbook of a lot of the concepts that we are discussing here, then I highly recommend this book, Flames of Faith. Next, there's an amazing website. I don't know if I've mentioned it in the past, but I'll mention it again. My friend Rabbi Chaim Zweck has an amazing website. It's called KesserTorah, KesserTorah.org. Kesser with one S. This is a website that has, it's probably the biggest website for shiurim in Kabbalah, in Chassidus, and also on Chumash and Navi, etc. But his specialty is actually Kabbalah and Chassidus, and you'll probably find more shiurim there on that website than any other website that I've seen. Everything's in English, very easy to use the website. So I highly recommend if anybody wants, and there's also advanced shiurim there also, if you're looking for advanced material like Kavanas of the Siddur, of the Arizal, advanced echzeh. There's very advanced, there's everything. There's beginners, intermediate, and senior levels, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for to expand your knowledge in this limud. Also, there's an amazing book, I don't have it here to show you, but Aryeh Kaplan has a much older book called Inner Space, And also, I highly recommend this book if you're interested in going deeper. It's an English book, of course, deeper into these inyanim. Okay, so I would just want to take a little step back because my friend Mendel Lukian actually brought to my attention something that I should have mentioned in the past, but I didn't. And he said a very interesting thing to me. He showed me the Sefer Michtav Meliyahu from, of course, the big tzaddik Harav Dessler. And now, Rav Dessler is not the first one to say this. This it could be the Arizal himself says it. This certainly was said a few hundred years ago, for sure, if not earlier. But he did show me a very simple comment from Rav Dessler. And what he said is, it says that the word oilam is from the same shorish as the word helam. Helam means hidden. So oilam and helam is the same shorish. So why does the word oilam mean helam, hidden? Because that's what the world is. The world is a place where God is hidden. That is where we are. And even if we're going to see, in Yetz Hashem, that there are 5 main worlds. We discussed the Makam Apani, the empty space, Kaviyachul, the empty space. And in that space, we're going to soon discuss that there are 5 major worlds in that space. So you might say, for instance, our world is called the world of Asiya. And that's the world where Hashem is very, very hidden. But you might say, well, in the next world up, it's called the world of Yetzirah. That's called the Olam HaMalachim. That is where the angels, Malachim, exist, hang out, however you want to express it. Now, you might say Hashem is very revealed in that place because it's angels, right? The angels are occupying that space. But in relation to what was before that space, it's also very hidden. Because if you understand, how are you? Welcome, welcome. If you understand, as we said, that first everything was Ein Sof, and now there's a place that Ein Sof is not apparent. Yes, there might be Malachim there, but before that stage, it was all Ein Sof, right? Now, Ein Sof is Hashem himself in his essence. Okay, there's no Malachim in Ein Sof. There's no world. There's no nothing. It's just Hashem. Period. So even in a place like Olam HaYetzirah, which is the Olam HaMalachim, that's also a Hester, that's also hiddenness. And so any of these Olamois, any of these worlds that you have within the Makam Pani is always going to be an Olam, and it's always going to mean Helam, which means hidden. Okay, so that's number one. Another point that I wanted to bring out is that what we said was that Hashem created a Makam Pani, an empty space. And so actually, if you'll view Hashem as everywhere, and now, whatever this means, in the center of Hashem, there is a lack of Hashem, Kaviyachol. So you would say, you could call that a chorban, right? You call that destruction. You could call it that, because there's a place that Hashem is not there. That's like a place of destruction, right? He was there, now he's not there, Kaviyachol, right? So the shorish of the word chorban is charav. And these are the same oisius as the word bachar, or bechira. How come I can still hear...
Someone came on, it's not muted.
Oh, okay. Okay, gentlemen, please mute your microphones. Okay. So again, the Makam Pani is a place of chorban, kaviyachol, because Hashem was there, he's not there, kaviyachol. So there's no bigger destruction than that, right? But at the same time, it is a place of bechira, which is the same oisius. Bachar and charav and bachar are the same oisius. And that's what the Makam Pani is. The Makam Pani is a place where evil exists. And so if we want bechira, there has to be good choices and bad choices. You have to be able to choose between good and evil. So this place of chorban becomes a place of bechira. And you can choose. And if Hashem would just be here and exist everywhere, we would not be here and we would not be able to choose. So that place of Chorban becomes a place of Bechira, a place where we can choose. And in general, by the way, I'm not going to go into this now, but in general, in the Arizal, you'll see a lot of these things that the same oisius can mean opposites, or a positive and a negative. For instance, the Arizal will say that nega and oinig are the same oisius. Okay, so nega means a plague, and oinig means pleasure. It's two opposite things. Also, for instance, tzara and ritzei. Okay, tzara means a tzara. There's something bad happening. Ritzei means Hashem is giving grace or is pleased. Ritzei Hashem Alekeinu. So you'll see this theme a lot in Kisvei Arizal. Okay, so now I wanted to talk about a little bit about we had introduced the kav in the last year. And I actually have here a diagram, a professional diagram. It escapes me now who prepared these diagrams, but anyway, they're very good. So I'm going to show you now a diagram. We did explain the kav and the makom pani, but there's a reason I'm going to show this to you. And this is just the graphics are simple but nice. Okay, so this is the diagram. So what you see here is you see a bunch of places it says Ein Sof or Ein Sof. It says or Aleph Samech, that stands for Ein Sof. And you see or Ein Sof is here, 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 and here, all around. In the center you have the Makom Pani, the empty, Kaviyachol, empty space. Oh, good evening. And actually what they did was, in the space, they put it a different tone. As you can see, inside the circle it's shaded in. So the reason they did that is because when Hashem Kaviyachol emptied himself from that space, he still left a reshimu. He still left a leftover in that space. So that's why they're trying to show you that there is something in that circle. It's not empty, and that's what that shading is. And then you see going from the top down, that is the kav. Now, even though the way that we explained it in our Sefer, Sifsei Chein, he explained that the top of the kav is thicker, and as it goes down, it gets thinner, which is, as far as I know, Rav Chaim Vital does not say it, but in the Torah of Harav Yisrael Surug, it is said that way. Here it doesn't show it that way. Here he's just showing simply the way Rav Chaim Vital describes it as a straight line. It's not thicker at the top, it's not thinner at the bottom, but that's a classic way that you'll see the kav. Now, the reason I wanted to show you this interesting diagram is it's a comment from Rabbi Ephraim Goldstein. Rabbi Ephraim Goldstein is, some people say he could be one of the deepest people around in this limit. He used to live in Borough Park. Today he lives in Tzvas. And he says a very interesting thing. Now, we know from Rav Chaim Vital that this kav is very important, because this kav is the lifeline to us and all the olamas. So anytime any hashpah is coming from Hashem down to us, it's coming through the kav. Everything that we do is coming through the kav. So when we do a mitzvah, we put on tefillin, and that triggers Hashem to send us hashpah. It's happening through the kav. Okay, Shabbos is here, Yom Tovs are here. That hashpah is coming through the kav. Whatever ruchnius we are getting is coming through the kav. Says Rabbi Ephraim Goldstein that there is an exception to that rule, and what he says is like this. He says that sometimes some of the Or Ein Sof actually seeps in from Or Ein Sof on the outside of the halal and seeps in through the walls. And some of that Or of Ein Sof is not coming from the kav, but it's just seeping in from the sides. That's what he says. And he says that when there is a nes that happens on this world, that's where the energy is coming from. So in other words, everything quote unquote normal is coming through the kav, but when there's a nes that, let's say, if you want to talk about real nisim, like Chanukah or Purim, etc., or Kriyas Yamsuf, that's actually seeping in from the sides. It's not coming through the general way. It's, in other words, it seems to be like, it's actually like more, the kav is already taking the Or Ein Sof and bringing it in and kind of shaping it in that shape of a kav. This is coming very direct, seeping in from the sides.
But is it only these like biblical level nisim, or
that's
had a personal name?
That is a very good question. That's a very good question. So he didn't say. He said nisim come from there. So it could taka be a person's personalness maybe is also coming from that place.
Do we have any idea of the core for
No, I don't, and I should really ask him. The only thing is he's very hard to reach, but yeah, it would be interesting to know the makor.
maybe the Menachem Kranz or something?
Menachem Kranz doesn't speak to him very often, and he's very busy. Yeah. Maybe he would know. Maybe he would know. Absolutely. Yeah. Good. Yeah. If you can remind me after the shiur, I'll try to send him a WhatsApp. Okay. So now we have an amazing concept in this limit. There is a pasuk. I think the pasuk is in Eov, and you will. As long as you're learning this limit, you will constantly be hearing this pasuk. It's actually 3 words of a pasuk. Mi besari echzeh elokai. From my flesh, I see Hashem. Now, so what could that mean? So the fantastic thing about this limit is that Hashem has set up a system that he tells us that if you want to know the deepest, most hidden secrets of me, of the Torah, of Kabbalah, etc., all you have to do is look at yourself. Mi besari, from my body, echzeh elokai, I will see Hashem. It's a fantastic system because the highest secrets, if a person knows what things mean, he can understand everything from his own body. Now, so what does that mean? Now you have to know the Arizal's code, obviously, but the system is fantastic, and I'm going to give you a few examples of this based on what we have learned about the makom pani and the kav. So I don't remember if I said this in a previous shiur. Maybe someone can remind me. But the obvious thing is that, of course, when Hashem created the makom pani and he put in the kav, that was the very first act of creation. That's how Hashem created, right? Because he created the empty space, created the kav, and now you're going to see how all the worlds are going to develop from that kav in that place through the reshimu, the leftover in the makom pani. So I don't remember if I said this in a previous shiur, but the first most obvious thing that you could see in a human body would be that if you think of male and female, or you think of a husband and a wife, so you can understand that the makom pani is round, and that will refer to the wife, and the kav is a line, and that will refer to the husband, and those two will connect in that way, that the line will go into the circle. Forgive me for talking in this way, but you have to a person has to understand that, first of all, when a person is with his wife, it's a very, very, very holy thing, because you are simply imitating Hashem in creation. And when Hashem did that, he created everything, and created Paris, created fruit, which is the worlds and us and all of existence. And when a husband is with his wife, then he creates. Mi besari echzeh elokai. From my flesh, I see Hashem. Do you mind just moving back so I can see? Thank you. Perfect. You don't have to do sorry. Perfect. That's one little example of this, but this is endless. I'll give you another example. A person has lungs, okay? And so lungs would be called our makom pani, right? That is our empty space. But in order to live, we have to open our mouth and take in air. So what's happening is the air acts like the kav, or you could say our throat is like the kav, and the air is the energy of the Ein Sof coming in and filling up our lungs. And that creates life. So the same way that when husband and wife get together, it creates life. Well, if we didn't open our mouth and breathe, we would also not be living. That's another oifen of mibisari echzeh. I'll tell you another one. Another one is, let's look at our stomachs. So our stomachs are an empty space. And you could say again that our throat is going to be the kav, and the ore that comes into our stomachs is the food. And that gives us life. Because without that food going into our empty stomach, we're not living.
Could it also be Yesod going into Malchus?
Say that again?
Could it also be like Yesod going into Malchus?
What going? Oh, Yesod going into Malchus. That is certainly the case. Yes, it's certainly the case. Certainly the case. So you have this fantastic system that whatever you see on your body is being meramez, is actually a reflection of what's happening in the highest places. And not only that, but another thing that you'll see with the kav and the makom is the makom is going to act as a kli, as a vessel, and the kav is going to be, I mean, the way we say it in Kisvei Arizal is we call it or and kli. Okay? But again, when you go to the tap and you want to fill up a cup with water, okay? So the cup is the kli and the water acts as the or. And the whole world, if you think about it, is all kalim and oiris. The whole world is like that. Even us. We are sitting now in Breslov, Toronto, right? We're sitting in the shul. So the shul is our keli and we are the or. Okay? You're driving in your car. So the car is your keli and you are the or. Okay? I'll say it a different way. If you want to build a building, so you can say that the earth or the land is a keli and the building is the or. This is endless. But you're going to see when you think about the world and the way the world exists, you will see that everything in the world is or and kalim. Okay? You eat your supper, you're eating it on a plate. So the supper is the or, the plate is the keli. And this is endless. The whole world works in this way.
Does or and keli somehow directly correlate to tzura and chomer?
Probably yes. Probably yes. Tzura would be or, and chomer would be keli. Oh, you're saying the other way maybe?
No, it's that way. Yeah.
The tzura is the or because the tzura is the.
It's the form.
Yeah.
Like
So right, exactly.
but
That's
usually
right.
When I go like this, I'm talking about a keli.
Right.
Chomer is like it's what's in it. It's the matter.
Right.
Wouldn't that be the?
No.
That's the thing that
So
Chomer
The
is
shiur, the chumrius is the building blocks. Surah refers to like
it's the
spiritual
material.
form.
spiritual. Right.
into the
Right. That's right. Oh, welcome.
Put a tzura into the
put a form into the material.
Depends, I guess it depends on the
And you're.
depends if you're working with a mold or with a stamp.
I think it's the way that Rabbi Gisselson said. That's my belief. And also, of course, or is always going to be male, and the kli or keli will always be female. Okay, that's the way it works. Again, because the makom pani would be considered female, and the kav would be considered male.
Am I allowed to add something?
Yeah, of course.
Like just something I like to think about in this realm is that when you're saying things that people might take it for granted, that everything in the world has a keli.
Right. Right.
The
That's
whole
right.
universe didn't have to exist this way.
Right.
It didn't have to be that the physical realm that we look at. We take it for granted and we think, what are you saying over here? That all this spiritual stuff has... It's just a bowl and a thing. But the whole universe is created in a way that you have kelim, and things go in them, and things that are important go in them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we...
Right. Right, 100%.
Didn't have to- it just didn't have to look like
100%.
this.
And it's an excellent point. I'll tell you even better. If you want to know the three words that probably describe the Derech HaBaal Shem Tov the best is Bechol Derachecha Do Ehu. In all your ways you should know him. And that's what the Chassidus was about. That you could live a regular life and you can be flying in Shemaim. Flying. Why? Because every time you go and you fill up your cup with water, you're thinking to yourself, 1 second here, this is ore going into the keli. This is the kav going into the makampani. And et cetera, and every breath that you take is the kav going into the makampani, and every bite that you eat is the ore going into the makampani. And a person's with their wife is a holy, holy, holy thing. And it's the ore going into the keli. And a person can go through life every day. He can walk on the street and do the regular things, and he can be flying in Shemaim. Because if he's thinking about what he's really doing, what is really going on, what is this a reflection of? Everything down here is a reflection of what's going on up there in the highest places.
I was talking to Rabbi Brom about this earlier this week. Different sugya, but it's related. I think, I don't remember where I heard it, but we say, it's written in the Svarim somewhere, why do we call it or, which is light, which is like what the sun gives and the light bulbs give? Because or is the most spiritual kind of thing we could possibly relate to in this world, in a certain degree. If you think about light, you have no concept and no way of observing light unless there's a keli.
Unless there's a keli.
Light as it's the light of the sun, as it's traveling through the void of space, literally the halal, you cannot observe it unless there is something there for it to hit.
That's a very interesting point. Who made this point? Whose point is this? Is your point? Wow.
Maybe I heard it somewhere. But,
that's amazing.
It's Hashem's point.
That's amazing. That's a very amazing point. That you need a keli.
The sun and the moon, Kesser and Malchus, and it's
right. That's right.
The moon it's
just a reflection of the sun.
Yeah.
But without the moon there, then you wouldn't see that. Right. Yeah. Excellent.
Like the light of the sun in its entirety is passing through the night sky right now.
I see what you're saying. You just can't see it because there's no keli to see it.
Yeah. There's nothing there.
That's amazing.
Which is crazy.
That is. Yeah.
I know, like a couple weeks ago with the solar eclipse.
Right. Also. Right. Now, another interesting thing that you're going to see from the kav and the makampani is the makampani is round. The kav is straight. And everything that we have in existence is going to parallel that. What do I mean? If you look at basically everything in the world, you will see that everything is either round or straight or a combination of both. For instance, this table is a rectangular table. It's two together, but it's basically made up of 4 straight lines, correct? However, if you look at the Sifsei over there at the top, that's round. If you look at a clock, it's round. If you look at these pot lights, they're round. But if you look at the ceiling, at these angles, those are lines. Those are straight. So it's an amazing thing that the whole world is made up of either straight lines or circles or a combination of both. And the reason that is because of the kav and the makampani, because we are only a reflection of all the high things going on in the highest places, and even on a man himself, on a human being. So let's take a human being. His head is round, his eyes are round, but his nose is more straight. But even his nose, he has 2 nostrils that are round. His mouth is round. He's basically straight. His arms are straight, but they're round, right? There's a roundness to his arms. His fingers are straight, but they're round. The whole world works like this. Why? Mi basari echzeh. From my flesh, I see God. That's what it means. And it's not just our flesh, it's the whole everything. It's every, like we said, it's every building, it's every landscape, it's every blade of grass, it's every tree. Everything is either straight or round or a combination of both.
Lafuke what?
What isn't?
Exactly.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like everything is either round or straight or a combination of the two.
Right.
As opposed to?
No, not as opposed to. I'm saying that's right.
Right.
I think it must be that way. Why? Because the very first things to be created was a makompani that was round and a kav that was straight. And everything is just a reflection of that. Okay. What? Everything okay? Yeah? Yeah, question?
Yeah, I mean, it's like the same thing. It's like we take for granted that everything is like
Right,
we don't
right.
even know what it would have been like.
Right. But if you walk around in the world, and I'm not saying you should go crazy, but if you walk around the world and you start, you look at circles, anything circular, everything straight, you can be thinking that this is the makompani and this is the kav, and you're seeing elokus, you're seeing godliness everywhere you go.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say, I apologize if this is too sudden, but is it fair to say that Hashem and just basically this world is just a mirror for Hashem and it's a reflection of Hashem?
That what is the reflection?
The world.
That's right. Oh, 100%. 100%. 100%. That basically we have Chazalin, we have Gemaras that say that the Beis Din Shel Mata is just a reflection of the Beis Din Shel Mala, etc., etc., etc. The upper court is a reflection of the. I mean, I don't want to go too much on a tangent, but the reason that we have here on this world a system of courts and judges and juries and judgments is because there is a Beis Din or many Batei Din or many courts in Shemayim. I mean, it says that's how neshamas are judged, how people are judged. Our system of judging is only a reflection of up there. And yes, the general rule is that whatever we have down here is a reflection of something up there. That is the general rule. I don't think it's I think I'm minimizing if I say it's the general rule. It is this way. It is this way. Everything down here is a reflection somehow, some way of something up there. That's basically what the Arizal says. Okay. So now I want to go to the next level. And the next level is going to be what happens after the kav enters the makompani. And for this, we are going to draw a diagram. Now, I am bichlal not an artist, so I'm going to do my best. So it goes like this. So I'm going to draw a circle, which is going to represent the makompani. And the kav enters the makompani. This we have already said, okay? So I'll just show you a very simple diagram. Of course, around here is all Ein Sof, and the truth is it's not accurate.
It looked more like an apple, that one.
Yeah, I shouldn't have, it's not accurate the way I drew it, so we're gonna draw it like this. Okay? So, sorry, the other way was the kav was outside. There's no kav outside. The kav begins inside, okay? So, you have this kav that has begun to come into the makompani. And then an amazing thing happens. What happens is, and I'm going to draw it, the kav is going to bring the light, the ore of Ein Sof, into the makompani, and it's going to go like this. Okay, so what is this? So what I wrote there is keser. Keser is the first sphera. Okay, so in other words, the kav comes into the makompani, and then the ore of Ein Sof spreads all around, but only in that outer circle. It doesn't spread throughout the entire makompani, just on the outside, just the way I drew it. Okay, and that is the first time. Sorry.
Where did Kessler come from? Can you explain that?
Yeah, we're gonna get there.
I know we're just in generic or right?
Correct. But that very first or of Ein Sof that's going to come around on just sticking to the outside of the Makampani is going to be called the first Sphira called Keser. And in Kisvei Arizal, this is the first time that we're going to see Spheris, is in when the Kav comes into the Makampani. By the way, just aside, does anyone know where the very first source is for Spheris in Yiddishkeit? In other words, like this: the Arizal lived about 500 years ago, but where do we first see Spheris? Does anybody know? Oh, beautiful, Sefer Yetzirah, right? Sefer Yetzirah says, "Oh, we're going to get there." Very good question. That was the next question. The Sefer Yetzirah says, "Esther Spheris Belima." There are 10 Spheris Belima, whatever that means. But the first time that you ever see Spheris is going to be Sefer Yetzirah. And who wrote Sefer Yetzirah? That was your question. Does anybody know? Good guess. Avram Avinu. Rabbi Avram Giselson got it right, and it is Avram Avinu that wrote Sefer Yetzirah. That's our Messiah. It also says that Rabbi Akiva wrote it, so it what they understand it means is Avram Avinu wrote it, and Rabbi Akiva added to it. And that's the first time that we ever see Spheris. But the first time that Reb Chaim Vital is going to talk about Spheris in his system is now. And okay, so we have that very first ore that comes out, and that is going to be called the first Sphira called Keser. And then the Kav will continue down, and it continues down, and it does the exact same thing. And this is going to be called Chachma. Okay, so I'm not a great artist, but what happens is the Kav continues, and then another Hashpah comes out and goes right next to Keser, and we're going to call that Chachma, and that is the second of the Spheres. And this process will continue, and the Kav continues to go down. By the way, the Svarim say this happened in a split second. In other words, all of these stages, I'm slowly drawing them, but the Svarim say this happened in an instant. And then the Kav will continue going down, and the next Sphira will be called Bina. Okay, and so slowly what's happening is the Kav is slowly, it's not really slowly, but the way we're going to explain it is slowly, progressively, the Kav goes down, and as it goes down, another Sphira is born, or there's a Hashpah of another Sphira coming from Ein Sof and continuing. You got a question? Yeah?
In this model,
Yeah.
like there's a line between the spheres. Is that line significant?
Very significant.
Between them?
Extremely significant. We're going to talk about that line. Very, very good. Yeah. So the question was that these lines in between the spheres, is it significant? And they're going to be very, very significant. I'm going to speak about it. So instead of just going through each one slowly, I have a prepared diagram. Okay, and this is what, now some of it I don't want you to concentrate on yet, because we didn't discuss it yet. But basically, I want you to concentrate, please, on these 10 spheres. And what happens is the Kav it continues going down. Each time it goes down is first Keser, then Chachma, then Bina, etc., etc., and then Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and Malchus. Now, the only thing I would tell you about this diagram that might not be 100% accurate, and I'm not criticizing them, because you should know in general, any Kabbalistic diagram is based on the way that the person who understood the Kisvei Arizal understood it, and therefore he's drawing the diagram. But there could be a lot of different ways to understand what the Arizal is saying. So sometimes you'll get different diagrams based on the way that the person who drew them understood the inyan. Now, the only thing I want to say here is, so first of all, what I have to say is right now, you should ignore these spheres over here. Let's not talk about those in the middle. But what you do see here is you see the Kav coming straight down, and each time it came down, another sphere was revealed or born, however you want to express it. Now, what the reason I'm saying that this diagram might not be totally accurate is because in the middle you have this giant space. Now, most of the times when you'll see this diagram, there won't be this giant space in the middle. These 10 spheres will fill the entire space. So the very, very middle will be called Malchus. Okay, so I hope I'm not confusing anybody. Just imagine this exact, I call this, you can call it like, it looks like a target for target practice, or a bow and arrow. Just imagine that it fills the entire circle, and there's not this big space in the middle, but in the middle there'll be a very tiny space.
In this diagram, it's still Malchus, though. It's just a big Malchus.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right, the middle here would be represented, we'd call that Malchus, but really in most diagrams, and as far as I know, the Arizal never says it looks like that. They're basically getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until the very center, which is called Malchus.
And what, the small space in the middle, what's that? What's that
Malchus. That would be called Malchus. Okay, so that now, once you have this diagram, once it looks like this, it gets a new name. Yes, and that name is going to be called Adam Kadmoin.
So what's the old name?
There was no old name. No, very good question. So all we said till now was that there's a Makom Pani, which has a Reshimu in it, and a Kav. That's it. Now, correct. So now that we have a Makom Pani and it's full with 10 spheres, looking like a target, let's say, once it's from Kesser till Malchus, we call that now a new world. This is going to be the first of the 5 major worlds that the Arizal discusses. Okay, the Arizal discusses, I'll just tell you them, I'm sure most of you have heard of them, and don't get, we're going to discuss them and explain them, but right now I just want to mention them. The highest world is going to be this world that was just created or revealed, and that is called Adam Kadmoin, and then the next highest one is going to be Atzilus. Atzilus is the world of Yud Kei Vav Kei. I don't want to get into that now. We will get into it. The next world is going to be Olam Habriya, which is the place of the Kisei HaKavoid. The next world down is going to be called Olam HaYetzira, which is the place of Malachim. And the next world is our low world called Asiya. That's where we are. So this is now the first world of 5 worlds have been formed. Now, I just want to mention that you should not think that there are only 5 worlds, because every one of these worlds has 1 billion subworlds, and 1 billion is just a number that I've selected, but it's really infinite. The Svarim say Oilamos ad ein sof. There's no end to these worlds. Okay, there's 5 major worlds, but they all have subworlds, so there's 1 billion of them, etc., etc., etc. That is called, so that world is called Adam Kadmoin. Now, is that a question? No. You should not, and then when you say the word Adam Kadmoin, you think, it sounds like Adam, the first man. That's what it is. Adam means Adam, and Kadmoin means the first. Okay, it doesn't mean that. It is a world, it's not a person, though Adam, the first man, Adam Harishon, is named after this place called Adam Kadmoin. And so are we, because we are Adam. Okay, so we are all a reflection of this, and we are all named after this place called Adam Kadmoin. Now, you asked an amazing question. Your question was, the lines in between the spheres, are they significant? And they are extremely significant. And I'm going to tell you a scenario, and then I'm going to tell you what Rav Nachman says about that scenario. Let's say, Chas v'shalom, you had a person that did a very, very bad avera. A very bad avera. Whatever, everyone can use their imagination, right? For some people it might be this, for other people it might be something else, but someone did something bad. Bad, okay? Bad avera, big avera. And then the person does tshuva, and the person starts working on himself a lot. Okay? Shmiras Einayim, Shmiras Bris, learning a lot, davening a lot, mikveh. He gets into a lot of holy stuff. He's learning Pneumius HaTorah. He's working on himself, yeah?
Why don't he slips?
Oh, that's right. That's right. So he's working on himself, and he's getting holier, and he's getting into Kedusha, and he's into Shurim, and he feels like $1,000,000. And let's say he's going like this for 8 months, yeah? And then all of a sudden, he has a weak moment, and he falls back in. Yeah? Could happen, right? Could happen. The natural reaction to that person will be, look, I'm the same animal that I always was. 8 months ago I was an animal, and I'm an animal today. Nothing has changed. That is the knee-jerk reaction. And this, says Reb Nachman, is coming exactly from the Samach Mem, and he says absolutely the opposite.
What is Samach Mem?
The Samach Mem means, thank you, the Samach Mem means the Yetzer Hara, the evil one, the Satan. Thank you. Yeah, this is coming from a bad place, and this is trying to encourage a person to just go back to the way he was. Says Rav Nachman an amazing thing. He says that you have to understand that this concept of Adam Kadmoin exists in the whole world, and exists in everyone, and exists in all worlds. So, when a person is at his low point, that's going to be called the center, which is going to be called Malchus. That's the lowest of the spheres, right? Because you have to remember that when this Hashpah came from Ein Sof, the first sphere to hit was Keser, because that's the closest to Ein Sof. The next one down is a little bit watered down. So that's Chachma. So as we go down, they get watered down. So the lowest level is going to be called Malchus. Okay? A person at his lowest point will be called Malchus. Now, that person, let's say this person that we're discussing, that did that bad Aveira, okay? And then he worked on himself for 8 months. What was happening was, he was working through Malchus, and he was about to enter the next level above, which is called Yesoid. Okay? But there's that line. There is that one line in between Malchus and Yesoid. Says Rav Nachman, that line is still empty. In other words, even though the Or of Ein Sof has filled this entire, again, remember that this big circle's not there. The Or of Ein Sof has filled this entire Makom Pani, and we have all these 10 circles of Ein Sof, and Ein Sof is filling the entire thing. However, Rav Nachman says that those lines are a place of death. It's in between the Or. So listen, when a person is progressing from Malchus up to Yesoid, he must pass through that dead zone. And that's Katnus. So this person was not going down. This person was going up, and he's still going up. However, he will get hit by that evil in himself or in the world, or however you want to express it. He will get hit as he goes up. And guess what? And when he continues to go, he will get hit, and hopefully he doesn't have to fall. Again, doesn't mean that when you get hit you have to fall. We are expected to fight with all our koiches when the Yetzer Hara comes to us. And sometimes in Yetzer Hashem we will be victorious, and sometimes Chas v'Shulam we will fail. The Rav Nachman is telling you that even if you fail, what happened?
Nothing.
Even if you fail, it's okay. It's okay. Of course you have to do tshuva. It's not okay. You have to do tshuva. But that happened to you because you were going up. And in Yetzer Hashem, when that person continues to go up, and he's going to go from Yesoid to Hod, he's going to also come through that death, that place of death. Now maybe, sorry?
The Klipa zone.
The Klipa zone.
It's like a moat with like fiery dragons that you have to
It's
get into the next fortress.
you said something very important. It was the next point that I was going to say. If you'll get into the Torah of the Rebbe Ber, the Mizritcher Magid, he said very, very, very deep Torah, and some of his Torah is much deeper than other places, and he says a fantastic thing, and I don't remember if I think I did mention it. I did mention it before, I think in the first year, but there was a thing by tzaddikim, and it's spoken about in old kabbalistic svarim. There was a thing by tzaddikim called aliyas neshama. Aliyas neshama means that, again, I don't know if anybody can do this today. Maybe somebody like Rabbi Morgenstern can. I don't know. And there might be other tzaddikim that are known or not known that maybe do it. You might want to call it a form of meditation. I guess you can call it that, but it's not meditation that everybody's doing. This thing called the Liyas Neshama is something that the Chassidish tzaddikim were very into this, and it meant that through thinking certain thoughts and probably certain shemus, names of Hashem, a person was able to close his eyes and go to higher places. Not literally, in his mind, he was able to go to higher places. And we have many, 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 many examples of this by Chassidish Rebbes. Not all of them spoke about it, and not all of them wrote about it. Most did not, because these are very, very high things, and you have to understand that these early doyers of our Chassidish tzaddikim, they were dealing with a lot of hisnagdus. There were a lot of misnagdim that were looking for something to pin on them, to say, this is just the cult of Shabsai Tzvi happening again. This is just, we don't do this stuff. So any of this really, really, really holy stuff had to be kept very, very secret. I'll just tell you as an aside, believe it or not, when these tzaddikim went to these places, in other words, they could go to the next world up called Yetzirah. They could go then to they would progress to maybe to Bria, and then they would progress to Atzilus, and even I don't want to get too much off topic. Even our davening is based on that. In other words, Korbanos is a Siyah, where we are now, and then we progress to Psukei de Zimra, which is Yetzirah, and then we progress to Berchas Krishma, which is Bria, and then we progress to Shemon Esrei, which is a Tzilas. That's Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's you and God. You're together. So they used to go to these places and other places, and the Heichal of Moshe Rabbeinu, this yeshiva in Shemayim, they used to go to these places. And actually, there was a thing that a lot of time by tzaddikim, when Chalila, a tzaddik, would pass away, the other tzaddikim knew about it. How did they know? Because when they used to do this, they used to see each other up there. It wasn't like just your personal. They used to go to real places, and in other words, let's say the Choyzef and the Blin would see the Barditchever, and they'd be in the same place, because at that time they were both doing Aliyas Neshama, and they would see each other. It says when the Baal Shem Tov went to try to go to Eretz Yisrael, he used to see the Orach Chaim HaKadosh in one of those places, and they could communicate. They could see each other. So they knew.
Was this physically or spiritually?
Spiritually, in their mind, they could see it totally spiritually, and the way that they knew that somebody died was because they didn't see him there. In other words, he did go to a different place after he died, but not in that place. So they didn't see him there. You knew, something's wrong. He's not here anymore. So why am I telling you this? Because I once saw in a Torah from the Rebbe Ber, he's actually describing in heavy detail Aliyas Neshama and going to a higher place. And then he says, once you reach this place, you're going to see that the dogs are going to come and they're going to start barking at you. And it's going to be a terrifying experience. And he says, don't freak out. I mean, he doesn't say those words, but he says, keep strong, don't be afraid, and keep moving up. That's what he says. And then you will go to the next level, and he says, and then once you get to that level, if you keep trying to go, there's going to be worse things that are going to try to frighten you. This is the exact same thing. This is, what? Huh?
Dragons.
Dragons. Whatever it is. Demons, dragons, I don't know. Unfortunately, I have not been there yet. Not yet.
One day, Hashem.
One day, yeah, not there, but, well, yeah, correct. Hashem. But what I'm trying to tell you is it's the same exact system. The person is going up, but he's going through that dead zone. And in that dead zone, there's death. There's frightening things. There's things that are going to try to stop you from going ahead. And again, it's the exact same point that we said last time, that all Yeridas are really Aliyahs. So a person, Chas v'shulam, that got hit by that terrible bad Aveira 8 months after working on himself, he thinks it was a Yerida. In a way, it was a Yerida because he did a big Aveira, but it's really an Aliyah because it only hit him because he was going to a higher place. And either he fights and he doesn't do the Aveira after those 8 months, or if Chas v'shulam he falls in, he does tshuva, and he starts again. But he's going up. He's going up. And this is real Rav Nachman, but all Yeridas are Aliyahs. And in the darkest places is where you find Hashem. And in the darkest places where you progress to higher places. That is Rav Nachman. Oh, I think we're out of time.
Okay, wrap it up. Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, you can finish up.
I can finish up.
Yeah.
No, I think basically this is probably a good place to stop.
Now we're not playing any more breaks now for a while, right?
Im Yetz Hashem, I hope, yes. I apologize. I was away for Pesach, so there was a longer break. Im Yetz Hashem, we will be continuing every Thursday night, 8:45, Im Yetz Hashem, and stay tuned because
we're going to begin the B'yam Darkecha on echzeh Chaim, which is not recorded, but everyone is welcome to stay and join us. We'll flip the screen around and get going in a few minutes. Shkoyach to Chaskel.